Well, you had it with your grandfather, and I had it with mom and dad, and that was beautiful what you just said. And you painted it perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, your granddad cared enough about it. He went ahead and recreated the poster, and I have those stories about my parents.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, that is awesome.
Yeah. It's
But also you too about wrestling.
the '90s wrestling was where it was at.
I was '60s wrestling.
Yeah. I mean,
Freddie Blassie,
Sassy Freddie Blassie. Yeah.
and Haystack Calhoun, and Dad and I and Ron used to wrestle in our living room. They, you know, I don't know, probably once a week. Dad would move all the furniture to the sides, you know, and we would have a wrestling ring. And now get this is not really a pretty picture as an adult to think about this, but I would take a pair of whitey tighties and I would put those whitey tighties around, making myself like one of those
Like a luchador.
wrestling mans. Jesus, I hope the mom made sure they were clean. But yeah, and you know, probably thinking about it in retrospect, it was probably an opportunity for Dad to make sure he blew a little steam, that we blew steam off.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, if we wrestled for, 45 minutes.
You're ready to sleep.
You're ready to go to sleep. You know, my dad was no fool. No, anyway, I could go on and on about my mom and dad. But you guys, if you have an opportunity, you should read the book, or it's available on audio. I know my wife, Kat, she's a big proponent of the audiobook because Ron's got a certain way that he talks. He's sort of like a jazz symphony when he speaks, you know. And I'm a little more like kind of a punk rock act. and so what we do is we read our words that we've written. And we wrote it in that sort of style where he talks about his life from his perspective, and then I chime in. Being 5 years younger, I chime in about the perspective I had being the little brother. And it made for good reading, and if you guys haven't had a chance to read it, you guys should check it out.
You should make an alternate version where you read each other's words.
I guess so. I don't know. But listen, I love my life, and I love being Ron's little brother, and I've had a great seat at the table. And let me just jump ahead a little bit. Something, and it came up at this convention. Somebody was talking about Solo, and my brother directed Solo, and he was a replacement director. The Lucas people decided to let the two directors that were directing the movie go after a long time. They filmed for a couple of months.
I think it was Chris Miller and Phil Lord, I believe, were the
Yes.
people they moved off. Yeah.
And they finally decided that they needed to replace these guys, and they quickly hunted around, and they landed on my brother. And my brother and the Lucas company had a brief bit of negotiation, and Ron decided he would take the movie, and he was very happy to be getting to work to do a Star Wars movie. And in fact, he called George Lucas, and he told George Lucas that the two guys had been replaced, because George he's not day-to-day operational with the Star Wars enterprise anymore. And so he called George and he says, George, I'm going to direct Solo. And George said, I told him to hire you in the first place. So Ron was very proud that he got George's blessing. And when I got to the set to work on my scene for the week, I was so proud that my brother, they were hiring my brother to be at the tip of the spear of that operation. Because you have no idea, with technology and the care and the creativity, what they apply to make those Star Wars movies. There is no stone unturned. There is no dollar left unspent. They will do what they have to make those movies as good as they can make. And they hired my brother to be the guy to do it. And when I was there on the set, I had a flashback of when he was 16 years old and I was 11 years old. And he was beginning to seriously make films for the first time. I mean, he had played with he had played with a Super 8 camera before, but he was about 16 years old when he really decided, I'm going to start being a storyteller. I'm going to take some film, I'm going to shoot an idea, and I'm going to cut it together, and I'm going to tell a story. Because that's what he considers himself. He's a story smith. And I remember when he started, and he had a dream of being a director, and nobody gave him a lick of a chance. This is way before the industry embraced young people to direct. I mean, Ron got laughed at. When Ron was 16, 17 years old, 18 years old, telling people he wanted to be movie director, yeah, that's good, cute kid, Opie, you know. But Ron had the gumption and the drive, and he kept up, and he got himself in a position to where Roger Corman wanted to hire him to be an actor in a movie, and Ron said, well, I will be an actor in your movie if you will give me an opportunity to direct one of your movies. And Roger, having a keen sense of what's good, he agreed, you know. And so Ron got to direct his first movie, which was Grand Theft Auto. But I remember when he was 16 years old and wanted to do it so badly, and then on the set of Solo, here he was, with confidence and a surety, getting to direct. It was really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they say in music, if Weird Al parodies you, you know you've made it. I feel like you know that you've been embraced by the film industry if they're going to give you a Star Wars movie. Because there are few franchises that are more hard to break through and be given that opportunity than that franchise.
And I thought Ron did a great job on Solo.
Yeah.
I know, listen, I was really proud of his work. And so anyway, listen, I've been very lucky because I got to do, when I was a little kid, I was in Star Trek.
Yeah, you've done both of them.
I've done both of them, and I've done a lot of different Star Treks. Listen, again, I didn't make the choices. I did suit up and show up.
Yeah.
You know, and I did. Now, lately, the last 2 or 3 times I've appeared in the world of Star Trek, they've asked me to be on. But I auditioned for the original Star Trek series. I auditioned for Deep Space Nine. I went in and there was somebody that finished second. There was some kid that almost got the job in the original Star Trek, in the Corbomite maneuver. You know, and I don't know, as luck would have it, as fate would have it, I've always said that, the casting director may think they're the casting director, but God truly is the one doing the casting.
He is doing the guiding there.
Yeah.
Well, we are at a horror convention, so we do have to shift things from the fun of the sci-fi to talk about, I would almost say there was this giant late 80s into the early to mid 90s Clint Howard horror moment. Where you're in the Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels, and you're in one of my personal favorites, Ticks. But then I think the thing that people are going to get photo ops here for is Ice Cream Man. You stumble into this small film that just absolutely took over the video store.
Well, yes, it did. Thank you. And I did not stumble into it.
Yeah.
I auditioned for the role of Gregory in Ice Cream Man. They had actually hired somebody else to play the Ice Cream Man, but the director wanted to do some casting, and he had my agent submitted me for the role, and I went in and met with Norman, and in hindsight, Norman said, "Oh, we gotta hire Clint," so it was right place, right time, but it wasn't an offer.
Yeah.
It was an audition, and I'm so grateful that happened. And as a matter of fact, I did a wonderful amount of fun success with Ice Cream Man. Listen, a fun little horror movie for kids, kind of.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it was their first horror movie that they ever saw, and it was in the era of video stores.
Yeah.
So kids would go to the video store, they'd see the box and Ice Cream Man, and they'd rent it, and they would be tremendously satisfied. And to this day, it's probably it's certainly my number one seller at a horror convention.
Yeah.
And it's kind of probably my number one selling photo in any convention.
It's one of the best pieces of box art that I think has ever existed.
Yeah.
It's so iconic.
My creepy face holding a bloody ice cream cone. Take that to the bank. And this, I'll tell you what, I've got to go ahead and follow up with this. Yes, made the little movie, 1994. Didn't really appreciate it at the time. It was fun. Over the years, people would start calling out, "Hey, Ice Cream Man!" on the streets, So it resonated. A few years ago, my wife, Kat, and I and Norman Apstein, the director, sort of decided that we were gonna figure out a way to try to do another ice cream game. And Norman and I were hatching plans along with Kat, and it was, we really didn't want to do a sequel. Gregory dies in the friggin' ice cream maker, and it seemed like that story was just about over. And we didn't really want to do a prequel, and we really didn't want to do anything. We wanted to do another ice cream man.
Yeah.
So we just invented this great story. We've landed on this wonderful, wonderful story about a guy that sells ice cream. And what makes a man decide to start putting body parts in ice cream? Because on page 1, Craigie is not that man. Craigie is not a monster at the beginning of the movie. But yet things happen to the point where on about page 60, give or take, he decides to take out his meat cleaver and make Rocky Road ice cream the real organic way. So anyway, we've developed it. We've just recently, even in the last couple of weeks, we've heard some great news as far as fully getting the thing off the ground. And we're technically in pre-production, and we're literally within the next couple of weeks on the verge of going into full-blown pre-production. And we're gonna probably shoot in early spring of 2026 and have it out into the marketplace as quick as possible, as quick as the distributors want us to have it in the marketplace. We're gonna have it. But we're excited about it.
I am very excited for us to revisit that world. Let's talk to the crowd for a